Flipping is a great way to make money in OSRS, but often players think you need to have a huge cash stack in order to make a good profit. Today, I'm going to show you how you can generate millions of GP just by flipping with 100 mil. This guide is primarily built for players who have 100 mil and also already have a basic understanding of how flipping works in OSRS. If you want to learn how to flip and don't know where to start, I have released a complete beginner's guide to flipping on my channel, which will teach you how to flip without having any previous knowledge. In the guide today, I'll start with some of my brief thoughts on flipping with 100 mil and some of the benefits and challenges that this cash stack comes with. Then I'll cover the optimal strategy for flipping with 100 mil, and finally I'll conclude with a live example of actually flipping on the exchange with 100 mil and walking you through the process. As always, if you enjoy this one, please do drop a like and consider subscribing for more flipping and money making content. 100 mil is a great amount of money to start seeing the power of flipping. With 100 mil, you'll already have access to flipping a large enough variety of items to generate a strong profit and really begin compounding your cash stack. What I mean by that is a 100 mil stack really starts to reveal the larger concepts of flipping, and if you can learn how to flip the 100 mil stack correctly, the same principles will apply to a 200 mil stack, 500 mil stack, and even a billion GP stack. And it's at this stage of 100 mil flipping where I really see a lot of players build their true foundation for generating profit on the exchange. Now let's touch on some of the strategy you should keep in mind when flipping with a 100 million GP stack. When you're flipping with this amount, you should be flipping a mix of high volume and low volume items. 100 mil is enough to be able to flip a large quantity of your high volume items as you are working with a sizable stack, which will provide consistency to your flipping gains. At the same time though, you should be starting to focus and flip some of the larger, lower volume items to capitalize on the larger margins and of course larger profit. Low volume items tend to carry more risk than high volume items, but we can mitigate this risk by balancing it out with high volume flips. To flip both item types, I recommend using what I call the 6-2 strategy. The 6-2 strategy consists of listing 6 high volume flips on the Grand Exchange, followed by 2 lower volume flips. If you keep the 6-2 strategy in mind, then it makes it very easy to adjust for your flipping risk. If you want a higher profit potential, then you can go to a 5-3, where you're listing 5 high volume items and 3 low volume items. This will give you a larger profit potential, but also is going to bring in additional risk as you're flipping another low volume item. Also, if you do go to a 5-3 strategy, I find that with 100 mil, sometimes you are a little bit limited with your cash stack to which low volume items you can actually flip, as you may run out of GP when you're trying to get all your items listed. So for my personal recommendation, the 6-2 strategy, you'll be spreading your cash stack out and listing 8 separate flips every single night. I highly recommend always filling every Grand Exchange slot with a flip, because the more items you have to flip with, the less risk you're going to have, and the more likely you are to make a profit. There are 2 specific reasons for this. The first reason being, if you list some of your item prices too low and the item does not end up buying, you still have 7 other item slots that have the potential to buy. The second reason is that if 1 or 2 of your flips do not work out and you lose money, you still have all of your other Grand Exchange slots that can profit and will likely cover any potential losses. Let's chat about some of the great items that you can flip with 100 mil. When we're talking about high volume items, you should focus on high volume flips with high buy limits, upwards of around 1,000 GP each per item. On screen right now are some of my personal favorites that you can try if you'd like. I listed the average price of each item as of the time of this recording, so keep in mind that this will change, but I thought it was good to include to show which types of items I'm looking for and generally what price they sit around. The most important thing here is really the high limit, which is why you'll see I recommend items such as the blood runes, soul runes, and death runes, which is an item I recommend for smaller cash stacks as well. For my personal high volume flips, I try to target items with at least 10 million or more in daily trade volume. With our low volume flips, you want to look for those medium to low volume mid-level gear items. Anything that costs around 5 mil or less per item is going to be the best, so you can still spread your cash stack across all 8 item slots. On screen are some of my personal favorites that you can try in the low volume section. With your low volume flips, the lower the overall volume, the riskier the flip will be, but the more profit potential it has. So for example, the Dagon High pieces are a fair bit riskier than the zombie axes, but will make you more profit on average. In general though, if you're using the 6-2 strategy, none of these items should be too risky for you to flip. Anyway, if you would like more item ideas other than the examples listed in this video, be sure to check out our Discord group. We have a Discord dedicated to teaching players how to flip and maximize their flipping gains. And we also have a free flipping list in there, which you can use for more item ideas. Alright, I am at the Grand Exchange with 100 mil in my inventory. I'm going to go ahead and list some flips using the 6-2 strategy, flipping 6 high volume items and 2 low volume items. And of course, while I'm getting everything listed, I'll give you a few additional tips to help you flip. The first item we're going to list is one of my personal favorites, and that is the Zulrah scales. And the Zulrah scales right now are looking like an excellent flip. We're currently seeing a margin between 110 to 113 GP, and this looks to be very stable over the past 24 hours. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and list Zulrah scales at 110 GP each, and try to sell them tomorrow at 113 GP each. Ideally, we'll be able to hit 2 buy limits on this item, which will net us 120k overnight just on this one simple, safe, high volume flip. I went ahead and listed 3 buy limits, which is 90,000 Zulrah scales. We'll see if we have enough time to buy 3 full limits. Let me walk through another high volume example just because the Zulrah scales were pretty straightforward on what price to list at. So let's take a look at the Adamant Dart tips. As you can see, this has a little bit more price volatility. We've seen prices go at a bottom of 170 GP all the way up to around 180 GP. Currently, the margin says it's between 170 and 180, but considering that the last one was bought 18 minutes ago, I don't really believe that. So I'm thinking I'll list around 172 GP, hoping to sell tomorrow morning around 178 to 179 GP. Anyway, we've got 2 high volume flips in the exchange right now. I'm going to go ahead and list 4 more. I'll try to pick some new items that are outside of the list I showed earlier. That way, you guys can all have more ideas on what kinds of things I like to flip with 100 mil. There are all of our high volume flips listed, and as you'll see, a lot of them have already started to buy as well, and that is just because these items are already at their daily low prices. This tends to happen when you're setting flips at night, not as many trades going on, so prices can tend to come down just a little bit. No worries though, if you're looking at the graphs, looking at the daily low prices, and nothing looks crazy on the weekly view, those overnight flips will be just fine. Another note I wanted to mention really quick is I generally try to spend at like 10 mil in each item slot here. That leaves a little bit extra for the low volume items, as you will tend to need a little bit more cash for the low volume items, as each item you're going to buy in those 2 slots will be a little bit more expensive. The next item we're going to list is the Carol's Leather Top. Now, the Carol's Leather Top seems to be bottoming out right now, but it's still holding a pretty solid margin here. So what I'm looking to do is buy them around 1,405,000 GP and hopefully sell them back tomorrow, kind of on this pumped price here at around 1,484k. If we can trade about 20 of those, we'll definitely be in a good spot. And the last flip we're going to throw on there as well is the Fremenic Kilts. These actually look like they have a really nice margin, almost 250k we're looking at overnight. The only risk here is we list these a little bit too low and they don't end up buying. We're going to let this sit overnight. We'll give it about 8 to 10 hours for our items to buy. I'll come back in the morning and see what we can sell for. And it is the following morning. It's been about 8 hours since I set these buy offers, and we had some really good luck overnight. 7 out of our 8 offers had some buy activity, and I'm confident we're going to profit on pretty much all of these. The only one I'm not 100% sure about is the amethyst darts, but we should be able to at least break even on those. What I'll do now is list each item near its daily high price, and we'll see how much we make when they sell off. And as you can see, some of our high volume items are already starting to sell. Just remember that your low volume items, in this case the remnant kilts, will take a little bit longer to sell. It has been about, I would say, 4 hours or so since we listed our flips back on the Grand Exchange to sell, but as you can see, everything here sold for a nice total profit of 2.7 million GP. We had a really nice flip on the remnant kilts. They made a 1.6 mil for us, which is solid. We also made 440k on the amethyst darts, which is above average, I'd say, for a high volume flip. Anyway, we'll collect our profit here, grab another 100 mil, and recycle everything into the Grand Exchange, and do another round of flipping. Alright, I've loaded up with another 100 mil after last night's 2.7 million GP profit. Again, I'm gonna flip 6 high volume items and 2 low volume items, but hopefully this time every single offer we list will end up buying. All of our flips for night 2 have been listed. We're flipping the zombie axes and the Dagon High robe tops for our 2 low volume options. I have a lot of confidence in the Dagon High, but I'm not as sure with the zombie axes. Hopefully we can get lucky on these and they go up like 100k overnight. That would leave a very solid margin on this, looking at almost a mil in profit. But anyway, besides that, all of our safe high volume flips are listed as well. We've already had the cannonballs and the blood runes start to buy. Again, we'll leave this for a few hours. We'll log back on in the morning and we'll see what is bought. It is the next morning and we are looking at a really solid profit. We had a lot of action on our high volume items overnight, with really only the Revenant Ether and the Rune Darts not buying, but the Dagon High robe top and the zombie axes, we did get some buying activity on both of those, and both look like they're going to have an insane margin. So as we did last night, let's go ahead, turn around and sell everything on the Grand Exchange and see just what kind of profit we're looking at. And there we go. Everything has sold. A great profit of 2.3 mil has been achieved. Again, only on overnights and just a few limits, high volume and low volume items combined. I just want to take a quick moment to mention that this is not maximum profit with 100 mil. If we were to flip more low volume items and take on more risk, we could make 3 to 4 mil a night with a 100 mil stack. But this strategy of flipping 6 high volume and 2 low volume items is honestly the best way to balance out risk and still make a safe and consistent profit overnight. Remember, when you're flipping with a 100 mil stack, you really don't want to lose money. You just want to be consistent, list flips every single night, and make 2 to 3 mil and consistently build that up. It's not worth risking your cash stack for a potential loss of a couple mil when you can easily build up your cash stack like this, netting 2 to 3 mil a night versus maybe 4 to 5 mil on a very lucky night, flipping a bunch of low volume items. Over time, this strategy will generate more than if you were to flip low volume items, because eventually your risk is going to blow up and you will lose money. That is all for today's guide. I hope you all enjoyed this low risk strategy for netting around 2.5 mil a night with only a 100 mil cash stack. If you enjoyed this video, please drop a like. It really does help me out a lot. And of course, please let me know in the comments below what kind of flipping guides and content you'd like to see next. Anyway, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.